Have you considered that you could only work with dream clients? Yes, of course it's possible. Let's hang out on Design Sips and I'll tell you all about it. We'll raise a glass while we think tank how to bring more joy, abundance, and balance to your interior design firm. I'm Sandra Funk and this is Design Sips. Cheers!
Cheers, Sandra.
Leaning forward in the dress. Cheers!
Okay, let's dive into designers' questions around this topic.
I'm in.
Simone says, I've had some non-ideal clients slip through in the past. How do I vet my potential clients better?
Simone, we've all been there, right? It's how we learn. I'm convinced that the few bad ones slip through to teach us a few lessons along the way, but at the same time, we always want to bolster and we really want to make sure that we know exactly who our dream client is. And when we know who they are, we're a lot more likely to only work with them. So first steps is to know who your dream client archetype is. And what that is, a dream client archetype, it's your one ideal dream client. So you can go back to past projects and look at your favorite project from a relationship standpoint, aesthetically, financially, right? Really kind of start to hone in on what was the best ideal situation from a potential client from a potential client standpoint. Then you want to round out, like, could you make them even more ideal? Could they live in even a better neighborhood? Could they have been even more communicative? Like, whatever that looks like, you're going to create an archetype of your absolute dream client. And this, you're going to name them, you're going to get to know them, you're going to know where their kids go to school, where they go to dinner, where they hang out, where they spend their time, everything, okay? Once you create this archetype, you're going to be able to look at every potential client that comes into your firm against this archetype. And you're going to say, oh yeah, they resonate, they line up. They're not exact. No one's going to be exact, but they have the same values. They have the same amount of time available for me. They appreciate my expertise at the same level, right? They have a similar size, scope, budget, whatever that looks like, right? So you're going to start to see the commonalities, and you're also going to start to see, okay, that potential client is left field from who I usually work with. They are empty nesters, I usually work with families. They are 3 hours away, I usually work within a 1 hour radius. They are in a different financial zone. They are in a different phase of life. Like, maybe that's not my ideal client, right? Once you know who your ideal client is, it's really pretty easy to see who they're not. So start there. That is first up.
Definitely.
And we're gonna have a sip of wine so we can think about what's next.
Just a reminder to go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can keep getting Design Sips in your inbox.
Yeah, if you like it, let's take this to the next level, shall we?
Okay, so having a basic inquiry form could be the first step in this vetting process too.
Definitely.
What type of information do you suggest designers collect?
So whatever is most important to your potential client. So to like what is most important to you. So for me, that might be location. That might be tell me a bit about the project. That might be tell me who the decision makers are. All those kind of high-level things that explain to you what the project is. So scope and scale of the project. So for instance, if you only do build from scratch and this is a decorate only, you're not a fit, right? So you might want to ask, like, tell me a bit about your project. Similarly, if you like to work within a 1 hour radius and this is 5 hours away, maybe it's not a fit. So you really want to just put there what are the things that work for you. I also do project address because that helps me look at like location. It also helps me look at home value, which we do have a lot of commonalities across home values in our client base. So that's a very telling metric as well.
Great. So they put their information in right away. You're able to know if they're a fit or not. If you're not sure how to say no to a potential client, we got a whole video on that. But let's talk about the script that the team uses to vet them further.
Yes. So once they fill out that initial form and we get the information and we are like, this looks good. This looks like this is our people. Then we schedule a call and one of our team members goes through a very scripted script, and they walk them through and they really are talking through taking it one step deeper, one step further. really, who are you? What are you about? A lot of this is the dance of like, are they a kind human, right? Verifying scope, verifying details, finding out more about the family dynamic and who's involved and what's happening. Where are you coming from? Where are you going? What are your hopes and dreams? What are you worried about? And I'd love to ask this question, are there any decisions that are already made about this project? This is a great way for a client to tell me, we already have an architect, we already have a builder, we've already set a budget, like all those things. Now, I never ask, do they have a budget? But if there is already a budget and it's firm, this is where a decision has been made previously. They might give me that information. But again, we'll go over why I never ask for a budget.
Yeah, so let's dig into some of these talking points from the script, which we would love to give to you. So you can find that via the link that's showing up on the screen or in the description.
Yes. My script is your script. Just let me know if you need it and we'll send it over your way.
So one of the first things that we ask is, are there any other decision makers in addition to yourself on this project?
Yeah.
Why is that something you included?
So important. So a big part of what I've learned, the mistake I used to make was that I would work with one party and I would get all the way through to the time it's ready, it's time to purchase, right? It's time to like put your money where your mouth is. And all of a sudden there's another decision maker here that needs to understand, well, why are we doing it like this and why are we doing it like that? And I was like, well, because we signed off on it in detailed, in conceptual design, and like we've been working on this design for months now, and like, who are you and where did you come from, right? So important, all the way back at the beginning, who are the decision makers on this project? And then I require all decision makers at all meetings. And I'm talking presentation meetings, not like a quick site visit. But all big presentation meetings, anything that has to do with signing a contract, signing off on designs, moving to the next level, right? All decision makers present. This is so crazy important, and it's a lesson I learned multiple times because apparently the first 3 times it happened, I didn't really catch on. But asking that outright is crazy, crazy important. And it's also one of those things where later in the project, when they're like, well, my friend said, or my mother-in-law said, or, or Joanna Gaines said, like, whoever, I can really be kind of cheeky and say, funny, I don't remember a mother-in-law on the decision maker list when we first spoke. And that's a really good reminder to just hold the container of like, this is what you told me, is that this is between you, this other decision maker, and my firm, and we're moving this project forward. If this is going to become designed by consensus, then I'm going to step back, because if you're, this is, in my opinion, that's not going to work, right? Like, you've hired an expert, we're here to do the job, there's a pace, there's an efficiency, there's a process to this, and we really do need to keep on track. So it can be a tough conversation, but it's really, really valid that you stick to the decision makers that were identified early in the process.
Exactly.
And the beautiful thing is, when you're in the potential client process, if they do identify the best friend, the mother-in-law, the partner, the this, the that, you can simply say, it doesn't feel like we're a fit, right? If they're telling you from the get-go that it's designed by consensus, you can opt out of that potential client. And again, go see that other episode on the kind no, because we really will walk you through how to say no in a gentle way.
Okay, and another thing we say is we describe high level what our process is and what we specialize in, and then we say our project budgets for full service are typically X amount per room. Is that in the ballpark of what you were thinking? Why don't you ask, what is your budget?
Right. Okay. So I give a ballpark for my average project, based on, is this a renovation, a decoration, a build from scratch, right? I kind of have that metric set. But I never ask my client for a budget, because when a client is giving you, the expert, the person who's been doing design for some length of time, you're in business for yourself, right? They are giving you a wild ass guess, right? Think about how much effort we put into figuring out what the budget for a project should be. Think about how much effort we put into figuring out what our fees should be, right? I know that's a huge pain point, because it's one of the things that we teach in the standard. We have this financial calculator that literally helps you do your fees and your budgets in under 2 minutes flat, but it's not something that I commonly see interior designers coming into the standard having down. They are usually telling me it takes me 3 days to come up with my fees. I have to kind of half-ass design the project and then back of the envelope figure out how much time it's going to take me. No, we have a much simpler way, but it's not easy to figure out how much this stuff should cost, would cost, will cost, right? So how in the world could your client, who is not a designer, does not do design work day in and day out, does not know the price points of furnishings, how much building costs, any of it, how in the world could they be the one who sets the budget? They can't possibly. So when they tell you we want to do the whole house and we want to spend X, those two numbers have absolutely no correlation unless they happen to also be somebody who does the financial analysis for an interior design firm, in which case they're probably hiring their own interior design firm, right? They can't possibly be better at that than you are. So please stop asking them for a budget and start educating your client about how much design is going to cost at your level, at your caliber, right? Both the budget for the project and the design fees. Make sense? I think we should drink wine and think about that for a minute.
Mm-hmm. Cheers to education.
And to them, no chance that number correlates. There's no chance that it just happens to be spot on, right? So, by the way, in all my over 20 years of design, I've never had a client come in and give me a number higher than what I was thinking. Never. I have this question from designers all the time. What if they were going to spend way more than what I say? And I giggle because I'm like, has that ever happened before? Because it has never, ever, ever happened to me. What? We're going to do the whole house and we want to spend 10 million. Nobody just says they want to spend some crazy humongous number. You need to educate them. I promise you, you will not undercut yourself. You will not leave money on the table. And the thing that happens most often, right, is that the client wants this and they give you this number, and that's a price anchor. And you can look this up because I'm not going to go crazy into it, but a price anchor is a low number that anchors the negotiation. So when you come in with a realistic number, your number seems really high because they've already set a price anchor. So when you don't let them say the first number, your number is the price anchor. Your number is the first number said, and therefore it sets the tone for the negotiation. They might want to go 10%, in any direction from that. But typically you want to be the one to say the first number when you're the educated party, and it's most likely that their number is going to be too low. Mm-hmm. So that's deep negotiation stuff, and I'm sure there's books and books on that. That is probably why I know, because I've read them all. But yeah, this is, what is it? I think the book is called Never Split the Difference. I think that's the book that talks about price anchoring. Anyway, it's a good read.
Yeah. And to clarify, because I know they'll ask,
yes.
Do you negotiate your design fees? Mm-hmm. No, we are either adding scope or cutting scope. Correct.
The only wiggle is reduce scope if they want to reduce fees.
Yes.
Or budget, right? Because we are the expert and we know what it's going to take. So the only way it goes down is if they take away some of the project.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Exactly. So in this process, we tell them how we work. We have a whole potential client process we won't be able to dive into today, but this is the script part. Then Sandra goes and meets them again to tell them how we work. And they end up self-selecting out, which is part of the beauty of vetting and having a process they can compare themselves to.
It's incredible. So we do this beautiful potential client presentation that really walks them through creating expectations and boundaries. This is what it's going to look like to work with our firm, step by step, all the way through the process. And that is incredible, because if a client doesn't like one round of revisions, or all decision makers must be present, or whatever, the timeline, the pace, we're not going to do design by consensus, we're going to keep on pace, right? If they don't like that, they can simply opt out of hiring me. They can go and work with someone else. Same thing with my fees, right? If my fee structure or the price point is not for them, they don't align with that value, then they can opt out. And it's a beautiful thing, right? Because truly, you want to educate that client. You want to knock their socks off so that the good ones stick with you. And you want the ones that aren't right for you, can't afford you, want to see every couch known to man before they can make a decision, want to, hold hands, skip through the shopping centers with you and want to know all your trade sources, whatever it is. Those clients, when you tell them, this is our firm container, this is how we work, and no, I'm not going to change it for you, they can go and hunt around and go hopefully find a designer who wants to do all those things with them, right? I do believe there's someone out there for everyone, and that or they'll get told, no, this is my business model by enough designers that they'll finally realize that it's non-negotiable, which is really my dream for our industry. If I had to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, so these are some of our top tips for vetting potential clients so that you're really only working with your dream ones. And then Sandra, what are some red flags that designers should be looking out for?
Red flags are some of my favorite conversations I have with designers because we've all been there, right? So there's so many. I think the biggest one is a potential client who wants to tell you how they're going to run their firm, how you're going to run your firm, right? That they would prefer the payment be like this, structured this way. I'm going to pay you this much at this time, and I'm going to hold this back or whatever. They want to tell you, again, how the size and scope of the project, how long it's going to take and what it's going to cost, and they can't understand that you as an expert need to be the one to say, you get to dictate size and scope of the project. I'm going to tell you how much it's going to cost and how long it's going to take, right? That shift of listening to the expert that they're about to hire is really important. And when they're kind of, no, I need it by XYZ date, that is a real big red flag. And not understanding that, this is an expert who understands how long it's going to take. Like, you would not walk into your dentist and say, I need dental work and this is when I want it done and this is how much I want to pay for it and the payment plan I'm going to put together looks like this. Like, I don't know in what universe design became negotiable like this, or like something that someone felt that they could tell someone else how to run their business, but I hear it all the time. So those are huge red flags. And what I love to do is with kindness say, I appreciate the thought, but let me tell you how my business is structured. I don't change it client by client because it's a process and it's a business. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm going to be doing this for a long time. We don't modify our business model for individual clients, but let me tell you how it goes with me. I'm happy to give you tons of referrals. You can speak to my past clients, right? And talk to them about how that all went. But you're also going to just be able to make a decision if you're wanting to come on board with my way, or if that doesn't work for you, then I understand and it was so nice to have met you, right? Like, just that kind release of like, if you can't get on board with how it works in my business, then I release you. Good luck to you. Go forth. So really important to hold that structure and to just see those red flags. If they can be spun around quickly and just, sometimes it's just not knowing, not having any idea. If they can't release and they really are stuck with like, no, you need to use my payment terms, or I need to know the vendors. And we had one recently was like, for any items over $2,000, I'm going to need to know the vendor and what you bought it at versus what I'm buying it at. And I was saying to the designer, I was like, that's not a red flag. That's like the deepest, darkest red flag I've ever heard of, right? Like, there are these controlling, I'm going to tell you how to run your business people out there, and if they can come on board, maybe you gotta trust your gut, but often that is just a huge red flag.
Definitely. So we want you guys to have this script. So again, check it out. It's on the screen. And thank you for joining us today.
Awesome. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.